Good morning. Welcome to Auburn Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, located on occupied ancestral land of the Muskogee Creek Nation. My name is Susan McAllister, and I will be serving as Service Associate today. We welcome all of you to our service, especially those of you who are searching for a spiritual home. Many of us were once too seeking for something larger than ourselves to which we could belong, a sense of rootedness to hold us as we create meaning together. We do that well here, though not perfectly. In this congregation, we strive not for perfection, but for authenticity and connection. Whether it's your first time with us or your 100th time, we hope that you'll find here questions that stretch you, people that befriend you, and liberal religious values that challenge you to join us in loving boldly, living justly, and welcoming radically. On behalf of the members of the fellowship, I extend a special welcome to all visitors who are joining us for the first time and to those of you who still feel like visitors. If you have not already done so, please fill out a digital visitor card by visiting auuf.org/visitor so that we may welcome you. You may also contact our minister, Reverend Chris Rothbauer, at minister@auuf.org with any questions or concerns you may have. Let us move into the service, willing to be authentic with each other, honest within ourselves, and open to connection in all its forms. Everything begins on the verge of awareness. The dawn is not, and then is. Sleep is, and then is not. In between is the awakening. The passage of thin light between breaks open the day. The passage of thin sound between flows into the day. Too soon, the numbing rumble of traffic swells, the day glares. Let the soft haze hang again across the row of morning. Wait upon the narrow moment, the first awareness of being in between. Live days and seasons on the thin edge of dawn in praise that every single thing begins now. I would like to invite you to join us in our opening hymn, hymn number 6 in the gray hymnal, Just as Long as I Have Breath. The words will be shared on screen. What if, when I light the chalice, you hear an invitation to welcome gratitude for the earth? This week, as I got ready to light the chalice, my family talked about blessings from this planet. Here are a few things from our list: food, water, and air that sustain us, birdsong, the beauty of spring. And now, with this flame of hope shedding light in your heart, may this chalice flame challenge each of us to cherish our dreams, for all things worth doing begin in the courage and inspiration of a dream. As is our tradition, we also light a candle in solidarity with those families separated at our southern border. Now that the chalice is lit, if you would like, please take a moment to type some of your blessings in the chat. One of the ways that we proclaim the warmth and caring of our community is by sharing our joys, concerns, and milestones. We invite those who wish to use the Zoom chat box to type your joy, concern, or milestone during the music for meditation. If you wish for your joy or concern to be acknowledged but don't want to share it, you may also type that you have an unspoken joy or concern. Thank you for that, Andrew. Thank you to all who shared their joys, concerns, and milestones this morning. These joys and concerns were submitted in advance for sharing. From Jim Allen: my joy is to have discovered, rather lately, that there is a nightclub in heaven called the Tree of Forgiveness, featuring John Prine every night. Now that is something to look forward to. May all the joys, concerns, and milestones of this community, those shared aloud and those held in silence, be received into the care and concern of all present. A religious community is like a river formed from the many streams of our lives that meet and merge and flow to the sea. As members and friends of this religious community, we share our time and energy, our creativity, imagination, and vision, our talents, skills, and gifts, and the streams of our individual lives to create a river that is both deep and broad, a river that is made of many streams, sustains life, and refreshes the land through which it flows. But the river of this community also depends on our shared financial support that makes real our shared values and vision. We will now receive an offering for the support of this religious community and its work in the world. You are invited to give generously and joyfully as you are willing and able. To make a donation online via PayPal, please visit auuf.org/donate. If you are writing a check, please make your check payable to AUUF with a note on the memo line about whether it is for the offering or your pledge, and mail it to P.O. Box 669, Auburn, Alabama 36831. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Well, I'm wild about all kinds of berries, black and blue, grass and straw and red. But best of all, I love to guzzle cherries, and I eat them till my lips turn red. I like to eat, no matter what it is, I like to eat. I could sing the praises of pistachios, I could eat them till I nearly bust. I also like filberts, pecans, and cashews. Yes, indeed, I sure love those nuts. I like to eat, no matter what it is, I like to eat.
Here is a selected reading from Eating Heaven, Spirituality at the Table by Simon Carey Holt. Eating is a sacred business, whether it's eggs on toast in a cafe, cornflakes scoffed down at a kitchen bench, a sandwich shared with colleagues in the cafeteria, or a leisurely family dinner at the dining room table. Eating is a spiritual act. Granted, to define eating in this way has the sound of wistful nonsense. Indeed, sitting down at a table to eat is an activity so grounded in the ordinary, so basic to the daily routines of life, we rarely ponder it beyond the simple inquiry, "What's for dinner?" However, scratch a little deeper and you discover in eating one of the most meaning-laden activities of our lives, one so immersed in human longing and relationship that it's a practice of sacred dimension. I would like to invite you to join us in our hymn number 8 in the gray hymnal, Mother Spirit, Father Spirit. The words will be shared on screen.
Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, where are you? In the sky, song in the forest sounds your cry. What to give you, what to call you, what am I? Many drops are in the ocean deep and wide. Sunlight bounces off the ripples to the sky. What to give you, what to call you, who am I? I am empty, time flies from me, what is time? Dreams eternal, fears infernal, hold my heart. What to give you, what to call you, oh my God. Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, take our hearts. Take our breath and let our voices sing our parts. Take our hands and let us work to shape our art.
So earlier, I had typed in the chat that I wanted to sort of prime you for this short program to start thinking about your spirituality and how it relates to your food and eating. Is there some food that you eat or a dish that you make that provides you with a spiritual connection or feeds your soul? So be thinking about that and think about what makes it spiritual. So there's a lot of definitions of spirituality, and it often includes a sense of connection to something bigger than ourselves. Spirituality is how we find meaning and we feel connected. Sometimes that means a relationship to God or a higher power. In some religions, there's a lot of rules about eating. Some believe that overindulging in food is a sin. Gluttony is one of the deadly sins, seven of them, and that's one of them. Some days you're supposed to fast in a lot of religions. There's rules about food, how you can eat it, how it should be prepared. And it seems like maybe eating properly is a way to become a good person and be closer to God. According to Islamic traditions, all actions performed daily and all actions carried out during the course of life can be raised to the status of worship by simply doing them. So that's all about spirituality as related to religion, but it doesn't have to be related to religion. Eating is something that we do every day, and it's the center of our existence. We arrange our whole day around eating. I may be only speaking about myself,
No.
but I'm pretty sure everybody does that. But eating is more than physical. A lot of our most vivid memories have to do with food. It could range from holiday feasts, favorite snacks, meals cooked over the campfire. Now, I'd asked you earlier to think about how spirituality relates to food, and I've talked about spirituality. Would somebody be willing to type in the chat like a food or a dish that you make that provides you with the spiritual connection and why and how it feeds your soul? Some brave soul maybe would think about doing that. And while you're thinking about that, I'll tell you mine. It's morning coffee. I do not leave my house unless I've had coffee. I always get up in plenty of time to make sure that I have it made. It's not just about the caffeine addiction. It's about the sipping of the coffee that starts the day. It's about putting the right amount of milk so it's the correct color. That's very important, the correct color. It's that ritual that makes me feel connected from sleeping, from getting up, to actually going about my day. It elevates my consciousness. It makes me happy. It makes me feel grounded in like what I'm headed off to do. And so on the weekend, of course, I have more time and I can sit down and enjoy it longer. And so it's not all about like rushing out of the house. It's about like being able to ponder life a little bit. But it still provides that stage from sleeping to going about my day. So I'm gonna pause for a minute, and maybe somebody might be willing to, or somebody here from the peanut gallery, as we call it, might be willing to holler out something. Of course, you can. I believe you can unmute yourself if you'd like to say, something as well.
Maybe all their fingers are broken. They can't type on their keyboard.
Their fingers are broken and they can't type.
Maybe
on their keyboard.
they could just unmute themselves and
Yes.
talk.
Yes, feel free to unmute yourself. I can't say that word. Unmute yourself.
Just a very slow typer.
There's CJ. Go ahead, CJ.
I was just going, there's so many of those for me. Fried green tomatoes, turnip greens, okra, the cornbread that always sparked the biggest debates in our household. My grandmother's cornbread was always had an egg and was made with sweet milk, and her sister's cornbread was made with buttermilk with no egg. This was like celibacy among Catholics when it came to debates. It was very heated. But all these foods, they not only connect me to the past and to the ancestors that I come from. There are a lot of the dishes were Scottish in origins, like the oat cakes and the turnips. But it's also things that I can grow in my own garden and do grow in my own garden. So it connects me to the earth as well. And it just kind of permeates my diet.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
This is Terry. Mine is not nearly as spiritual as Chris's is, but what I thought of is one of my favorite combinations of things is a very nice single malt scotch, blue cheese, and walnuts.
Yum.
Yes. And you're welcome to come over, so that we can arrange something. Scotch lovers unite. Single malt Scotch lovers unite.
We're there.
Blue cheese lovers unite.
Yes.
Somebody else?
Did y'all read what Cindy wrote? And then right before that,
Right after.
or right after that, yeah, so alcohol seems to have
Oh, Cindy.
something going on here. Sipping a craft beer, I can definitely relate to that one too. And then of course Chris was talking about communion. Communion's a big one, I think, for a lot of us too. Oh, and Martha has one.
I know, get up there.
Get up there.
I'm up here. Growing up, my sister and I, well, the family would visit my father's parents, and my grandmother for Sabbath would always make chicken soup. And she kept a very kosher kitchen. Kosher means health, by the way, so if you got more questions, ask me later. When she made it in this particular pot that had an uneven bottom, we used to call it the rumble pot because when the soup started to boil, it would shimmy on the stove. So my sister got that. My sister doesn't necessarily keep kosher, but she ended up a pretty darn good cook. But when my grandmother was making it and it smelled so good all through the house, and since she was keeping kosher, I somehow felt more connected to being Jewish than I do now. But it was fun watching it.
Oh, and Angie's got one about making dill pickles, and it feels so wonderful. I agree, you know. Like CJ, I have recently gotten very into gardening, and so, you know, and like a lot of you probably, you know, growing all of the tomatoes and then being able to like give away the tomatoes and various other kinds of produce gives me a very profound sense of happiness. You know, I don't just garden for myself, you know, I'm always looking, you know, to give it to other people. So that's a very important thing to me.
How many gardens have you grown?
73. Why not like it?
These are great thoughts, you guys, you know. Feel free to think of some more.
One thing about the squash too that that I grow here, you know, the squash was also the important foodstuff for the Muskogee Creek people who we mentioned at the beginning of our service. And the squash still grows, just like the people themselves are still very active, but just not here in Alabama. We persist. Do y'all know, what's her name? Harjo, the poet laureate? She is descended, she's Muskogee Creek Indian, so she's actually descended not only from the people in Alabama, but also the mound builders here. See if I can find her name. Joy Harjo is her name. She is the poet laureate. Maybe we'll to use some of her poems in some of our services.
Well, as we go along, if anybody has any other questions, we got somebody making gingerbread cookies. They have a very good smell.
Mm.
And then of course, homemade bread is a great one too. Homemade bread is great too because, you know, you just have water, flour, yeast, and salt, and maybe a few other things, and then you transform it into this incredible thing to eat. It's like an amazing ritual. So in the book that we had talked about earlier, Eating Heaven, Spirituality at the Table. The book obviously has made quite an impression on me. Simon Carey Holt is a Methodist minister and a chef, so seems eminently qualified to talk about that sort of thing. One of the things he says is that the kitchen table is where our identity is shaped, where we learn our manners or not, where we develop our taste and our biases. So from the kitchen table, we move to the dinner table or the backyard table, where we have our vegetable gardens and cookouts. And these tables are filled with more than coleslaw and barbecue, but our local cultural identities. And Kristen is noting here that she likes to cook different international dishes because it reminds her of childhood travel. So that's also a great thing to think about. And so that also goes towards thinking that your tables are filled more than just the food, but it's also your local identity. So we also think of our feasting table, where we celebrate important occasions or profound losses. So I think whether you're eating it or preparing it or growing it or talking about it, food offers us a spiritual connection. It may be because you take the time to be mindful about what you're eating or what you're preparing. Conrad's talking about apple chugal. I don't know what that is, but it sounds yummy.
It is.
Oh, Martha's saying it is.
It's like noodle casserole.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Like
kugel.
Kugel. Oh, kugel.
Kugel.
I'm sorry, I misheard.
I've never seen it spelled that way.
So
But
that's a good thing to think about.
yeah, apple kugel.
I've made it once. For here.
So no matter whether you're eating a Thanksgiving feast with all the trimmings, or maybe it's just, peanut butter and crackers. We can all be, experiencing a spiritual connection with our food. And going back to gluttony being one of the 7 sins, and we're talking about food again, but it also, I think a lot of, the reason why people have issues with gluttony is because you're not really thinking about what you're eating. You're doing it in a not mindful way. You're just I want to say, you're just chowing down, but you're just gobbling it down. You're not really experiencing it. So I think maybe it's not so much that you're eating so much food. It's how you're doing it. So, but obviously people feel that connection, and up to the point where some people find it to be a sin. So obviously it's a profound thing. So, but like I said, so whether we're eating food or preparing food, we can find a daily spiritual connection that allows us to celebrate our lives and live a more meaningful life. Oh, and here's another really good one that Cindy talks about, making maple syrup. That's quite a process. Getting all the sap, boiling it down, I can't even imagine. So when we've talked about eating and how preparing food can be spiritual, and there's so many rituals that people have pointed out and processes for making food, we can see that it is, as Simon Carey Holt, it's so laden with meaning and with spirituality, and it's intertwined with our daily lives and how we go about everything. It's also important that we remember that many people don't have enough to eat. And as we celebrate our lives, and we should reach out to others and be generous in our giving, and so that others can have these kinds of enriching experiences. So let us all, in closing, I did say it was a short program, by the way. Remember that.
Add something.
Oh wait, I'm sorry, Laura wants to add something.
I could add something.
Oh, one moment.
Because I was glad that you mentioned that people have a lack of food. And I've been watching all these survival things, and people get lost in the woods and have nothing to eat and have no water, and then it reminded me of, like, when I've been sick, that I would like to be able to eat, but I can't eat, and I don't desire to eat. And the most precious thing is when you start to get well, and any little bite of cracker or bread with a sip of water makes you feel better instead of worse. So,
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great point, Laura, that not only is it a spiritual thing, it's also a physical and healing thing as well. So let's go out and celebrate our lives and give to others so that we can all have enriching experiences and related to food. And so we're going to go towards some music that I think you'll really enjoy.
well, here's our canvas moment, because we're trying to wrap up the canvas, and we had a deadline of April 1st, but it's a challenging thing to contact a whole bunch of folks. But so far, I'd like to thank our canvassers and our canvassees, because so far we've raised $114,000.
Yeah.
But we still have more to go, and there's 1/3 of us left that haven't yet pledged their dollars. So we'd love that last third to be able to pledge their dollars. So we've extended the canvas deadline to April 20th, which is my birthday. So that would be really lovely.
Speaking of your birthday, Laura, look what we have, 1/3 of a cake for you.
Oh, 1/3 of a cake, and my favorite, it's a pound cake. You could even pledge in pounds. That'd be fine.
Can we play some, Martha? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Me.
Happy birthday, dear Laura. Happy birthday to you. Okay.
Woo, thanks. I'm gonna make a wish.
What'd you wish for?
Oh, I
Can't
can't
tell.
I
You can't tell, it won't come true.
I can't tell, and I doubled up because this is a big birthday. I hope you still need me, and I hope you still feed me, because you know how old I'll be.
I bet we know what your wish was. Well, one of them anyway.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go back to Susan. There we go.
All right. Well, Laura, I hope your birthday wish comes true.
Me too.
Our closing words are by Richard M. Fuchs. As Jesus came eating and drinking and made friends with the people of the earth, regardless of social distinction or class, let us strive to do likewise in our own eating and drinking, thinking and speaking, living and acting. Let us ever be thankful for the food we eat, the friends we share, the water and wine we drink, the air we breathe, and the songs we sing. Please join me in extinguishing our chalices. Whoops.
A little preemption there.
Oh, I don't have it. That's my bad.
Okay, well, please
Sorry.
join me in extinguishing our chalices. You
We know the
will.
words.
We know the words. We extinguish this flame,
But
but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Now, please join us for our sung benediction.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that one now.
Go forth into the world in peace, in peace. Be of good courage, hold fast that which is good. Go forth into the world